Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Practical EdTech Live. I'm Richard Byrne. As you can tell, I'm not in my office. I'm in Key West, Florida, in a hotel room where I'm working with a school. Not here on vacation, actually down here to work, working with the school, the Sigsbee Charter School. Great folks. They're looking for a full-time technology integration specialist for next year. So if you're interested in moving to Key West, uh, look them up online, Sigsbee Charter School. I would love to do it, but my family is pretty well rooted in Maine now. So anyway, let's take a look at today's questions that I got in advance over the last week. And I apologize to a couple of you who sent me questions on Facebook. Facebook is down right now, or is having some really slow issues. It's widespread, and I can't access the questions that were sent to me on Facebook. So I apologize for that. I'll try to get to those in the next. I'll get to those next broadcast. All right. All right, so a question from Kim. Uh, Kim asked me, what blogging platforms would you recommend to use with middle school and high school students? Thanks in advance, Kim. So, Kim, I emailed back and I said I would use either EduBlogs or Blogger. And my decision would be based on whether or not it's a G Suite for Education school. If you're a G Suite for Education school and you're already using all the G Suite products, you can turn on Blogger for your students, and that would probably be the easiest way to go. If you're not a G Suite for Education school, then I would use EduBlogs because you're going to have to create accounts on it. So that's where I would go with that. Question that I got from Jean, who asked, I've been using Satori this year for collaborative presentations, kind of a cool use of Satori. For those who aren't familiar with Satori, it started out as a timeline tool, and it still is a timeline tool, but it's grown and grown to add lots of features over the years. I was wondering, what are the best app smashes you've seen? Do you have any examples? I'd like to try Flipgrid and Satori to record student voice, but then have them add quizzes directly on Satori. So, yes. Oh, hey, Len. Thanks for joining us. So, Gene, to answer your question, yes, it can be done. And the way I would do it is I would either download the Flipgrid recordings or grab the embed code for the Flipgrid recording. Depends on the privacy of your Flipgrid. I'd either download the recordings and then put them on the Satori timeline for the quiz, or I would grab the embed code and put it in the Satori timeline for a quiz. That's how I would do it. As far as app smashes around Satori, I have to tell you, I haven't seen any ones that stand out in my mind, but I just looked at the question 10 minutes ago, so I haven't had time to research it, unfortunately. So to answer your question, yes, it can be done. I haven't seen anyone else do it, but it could be done. Question from Sean, who asked me, what are some ways for teachers and students to use programs like Screencastify in the classroom? Sean, I'm glad you asked. I love this. I love Screencastify. Glenn, I'm sorry. I was mispronouncing. I was saying Sutori, not tutori. Sutory. Yeah, I'm speaking softly and I'm using a kind of a cheap headset right now. Sutory, Sutory. It is kind of like quizzes. You can, yeah, it's kind of like Google form quiz, multiple choice quiz. All right. So back to Sean's question. What are some ways for teachers and students to use programs like Screencastify in the classroom? So the obvious use of this is to make instructional style videos. Right? So you're going to do a screencast of how to solve a math problem. You're going to do a screencast of how to program with the MIT App Inventor. That sort of thing is great. Those are the obvious uses. Some other uses that you might want to think about. I actually made a video about this probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. You could make a Common Craft style and explanatory style video by using the animation tools that are in Google Slides or PowerPoint or Keynote for that matter, and then record the slideshow by using Screencastify and do the voiceover through Screencastify. And you'll make a simple explanatory video using that Comic Craft style of the digital cutouts moving across the slide. It's not a full animation, they're digital cutouts that move on command. So you try that. Something that I did with actually the school that I'm working with right now, we did this back in the fall. We made some animations using Brush Ninja and then used Screencastify to record the Brush Ninja animations and have students explain the animations or talk over the animations that they made with Brush Ninja. So there's a few ideas for using Screencastify. Question from Matt, who asked me, do you have any tips or tools for helping students recognize misleading stories? And I like that Matt said misleading stories and not fake news. So Matt, two things that I use a lot or recommend a lot. One is Factitious. Factitious is a game produced by American University so that your students can practice. They are shown some fake news stories, or not fake news stories. Some are what they call fake news stories, and some are real stories, and students have to decide if it's real or fake based on the clues that are within the article and the source that the article came from. That's one, and they can earn points for getting it right. The other is C-SPAN Classroom. I was just looking at C-SPAN Classroom the other day because they'd sent me a new article. But C-SPAN Classroom has a couple of good free lesson plans in which students watch some video clips, and then from those video clips, they pull out examples of how misleading news is spread and how misleading news is sometimes hidden within what seems like a serious article or a serious story. So a couple of things there for you, Matt. And finally, the last question that I had in my Google form and not in my Facebook, unfortunately, the Facebook is still not coming back, is from Leslie. Leslie asked me, I'm thinking about making a podcast as a complement to our school newsletter. What would you recommend as an easy way to do that? Or is there an easy way to do that? So Leslie, yes, there is a way to do that, and it's fairly easy. It's a lot easier than it was 5 or 6 years ago to make a podcast. And the tool that I recommended to Leslie is to use Anchor.fm. I don't know how in depth you want to get with your podcast, Leslie, but Anchor.fm, you could simply record on the website or record in the app and then publish the podcast and publish it directly to iTunes and Spotify and a handful of other places where people typically get their podcasts. So you can do that with Anchor.fm. You can also, with Anchor.fm, record, then upload other media clips, sound effects or songs or other pieces of recordings that you have. You can mix them all together in Anchor.fm and then publish that as a podcast. The other neat thing about Anchor.fm is it does have an automatic transcription, so you can so it will transcribe, and then when it plays back, when you play it back on the Anchor.fm website, you can actually see the transcription play in sync with what is spoken. Kind of a neat thing. And that's it in terms of questions I had in the Google form. If you have a question for me right now, feel free to pop it into the YouTube. And again, I apologize to the Facebook folks who sent me questions. Facebook is down and I can't pull them off right now. I tried to get Facebook up and it's just slowly loading. So I'll get to those questions next week. Next week will be an extravaganza of Practical EdTech Q&A. All right. Hey, so thanks, Len. Thanks, Glenn, and Mama's Boys Comics and Living Color for joining, and the other folks who are here but didn't say hi in the chat. Thanks for joining me today, and have a great week, everyone. It's Wednesday. We're more than halfway through the week. You can make it. All right. We'll see you soon.